Hey everybody, and welcome to a very sweet wild ride with Steve-O. Not only do we have Jodie Sweetin from Full House with all kinds of crazy insights into the scandalous trials and tribulations of child actors, as well as all this juicy stuff about addiction and recovery, but this episode's brought to you by the sweetest brand of cereal out there. It's called Magic Spoon, and it really is magic because each serving has 0 grams of sugar, 4 grams net carbs, and 13 grams of protein. That's absolutely crazy because this stuff is every bit as delicious as all of your favorite cereals from when you were a kid. I don't mind saying that this fruity flavor, it's every bit as delicious as Fruity Pebbles. The frosted flavor, dude, reminds me so much of Cap'n Crunch. And here, this stuff's actually good for you. I mean, dude, it's a performance-enhancing meal. Dude, I also don't mind admitting that totally by myself, I went to magicspoon.com/Steve-O and I ordered 26 boxes because I love it so much. Yeah, I'm running low on cinnamon, and I'm telling you, it tastes just like Cinnamon Toast Crunch. I'm going to eat some right now. Dude, you guys have to try this, man. It is so killer. You go to magicspoon.com/Steve-O and use the promo code Steve-O. Gets you $5 off your order, and it's like being back in the game, man. Eating like you're a little kid, except not feeling bad about it. Go over there, grab yourself a variety pack, just enjoy, man. And they have a happiness guarantee, so if you don't like it for any reason, get your money back, no questions asked. Tastiest cereal ever, 0 grams of sugar per serving. Now, let's get into it. Ladies and gentlemen, Jodie Sweetin. Yeah,
hey.
Dude. All right.
What's up?
You've met my co-host, Scott Randolph.
Yes.
I have, Scott. How are you?
Good, how are you?
And it's hot as balls outside, but we're going to run this air conditioner for as long as we can.
Yeah. We'll run it and then turn it off eventually. And I speak loud anyway, so I'll just do my best to project.
Good.
It will turn off, I predict, in about 45 to 50 minutes.
Right.
And if by that point you've had enough, then fair enough.
All right. Now we'll be all right.
So yeah, where to begin? I mean, my first thing I'm curious about, were you a child star before the original Full House?
I did a lot of commercials and stuff when I was young, before Full House. Full House was one of my first big television gigs. I did, I don't know if you remember the show, The Hogan Family.
Yeah.
I actually did a guest appearance on The Hogan Family as Pamela Poole, who was Mrs. Poole, the next door neighbor's niece. And it was an episode where she was watching me and then she like throws her back out or something, and then Jason Bateman and the other two, Jeremy Licht and Danny, I can't remember his last name. Anyway, they take over, wind up babysitting me, but that was my very first TV role. I was 4.5. And it was the same producers that were doing Full House, the same executive producers, Miller Boyett, and they loved what I did, and they cast me on Full House. From that, I never actually auditioned for the show. I basically did a guest appearance on Valerie, and they were like, "This is who we want for Stephanie."
Jesus.
So I was incredibly lucky. And before that, I did a Sizzler commercial that was really successful. Like, the ad company wound up giving me a dog when I was like 4 because the commercial was so successful, and it was like I kind of got.
They gave you a dog.
They gave me a dog because it was BBD&O. They gave me a dog because it did so well, and because originally they had a boy cast for the part, and they brought me in as a backup, and I did it, and this poor little boy had to just stand to the side all day while they completely changed the entire commercial to be a daughter. They didn't even have a name for me, so they just used Jodie. Like, I mean, it was,
wow.
Yeah, and it was Sizzler all-you-can-eat shrimp commercial, and it was a really hugely popular thing.
And
so
television commercials have always been like a really like good paying thing, right?
A good national commercial is awesome. Like, you know,
right.
People that when you see like those people in commercials that are doing the whatever the insurance one, Progressive, all that shit.
Right.
They're doing great off of some national commercials.
I had a buddy that did a Zima commercial, and he got picked up, and he made like 90 grand off of it.
Yeah, you make a ton off of national commercials. I don't know how it is now. I mean, the business is so different now from when I started. Like, it's just vastly different. But
if it's based on impressions, I would imagine that it's still very lucrative.
Yes. Well, I mean, now, Instagram, all that shit is just based. Oh, can I say that?
Yeah, you can say whatever you want.
You can say...
It's a wild ride.
Yeah, I was like, if I can't say the word fuck on Steve-O's podcast, I don't know what kind of planet I'm living on. But yeah, it's, that was my introduction into it, and I was 4 years old, and then by 5, I was working on Full House, and then that was...
Oh, shit, you were 5 when Full House started? Damn.
Yeah. I was 4.5 when I did Valerie, and when I got cast, I was 5 years old.
I picture you as, like, the older sister.
No. Candace was 10. I was 5, and then Ashley and Mary Kate were 9 months old.
Damn.
Yeah.
It shows how much I know.
Well, fuck, what's that like walking onto a set at 5? Like, I mean, at that point, do you even know what's going on?
Oh, yeah. It was funny. I actually, just today, I ran into Joel Zwick, who directed tons of episodes of Full House, the original. I met him when I was 4.5 years old. He directed our pilot. I've known him forever. Ran into him randomly today, but he still talks about it. He's like, at 5 years old, like, you sat at the reading table. You read that script with everybody else. Like, you were on it. You had everybody laughing.
You could read at 5?
I could read a little before my 3rd birthday.
Unbelievable.
Yeah.
Did you like that attention?
I loved it. I'm a little bit of a nerd, and so, yeah, I've loved reading my whole life.
Dude. I was on an airplane recently, and I watched an HBO documentary about child stars. Mm-hmm. And it was, like, kind of pretty dark. Like, it was an indictment of, like, pushing kids into show business.
Right. Which, it's unfortunate. Well, it's not.
You know what's absolutely unfortunate? Yesterday, I had to delete something from Instagram because the hair coming out of my nose was just disgusting and humiliating. But you know what's not unfortunate at all? Is that all I had to do is grab my Manscaped weed whacker and just stick it in there, and boom, nose hair gone. Problem solved. That's what Manscaped does, is solves grooming problems, man. They got the new Lawnmower 4.0. This is the best shaving tool out there, man. It even shows you what you're doing with the light. Boom. No nicks, no cuts, just fresh, shaved balls and body, courtesy of the best men's grooming device out there, Manscaped. Now, if you go to manscaped.com/Stevo, what are you going to get? 20% off your order plus free shipping. Plus, man, it's summertime, dude. It's time to have the clothes off. It's time to look good. So, dude, are you going to be a slob with hair all over you like Scott Randolph? Or are you going to get your Manscaped grooming devices and clean yourself up, take off your shirt with pride? Yeah. Go to manscaped.com/Stevo and get yourself taken care of by using that /Stevo, 20% off your order and free shipping. And hey, you heard it from me. Now, let's talk about child stars.
It is and it isn't. I guess my experience was so vastly different growing up in this business. Like, yes, there are some things that come along with being famous at a young age.
Yeah.
But my overall experience was so wonderful and positive, and like, I have this family of people 35 years later that I'm still friends with and like still are my family. I never experienced any abuse. My parents always were like, if this isn't what you love, we're not going to make you do it. It was never my parents' idea. Like, I wanted to perform.
Right, but does a 4-year-old say, I want to go on an audition?
Yeah.
Really? Wow.
Yeah. When I was 3 years old, I told my mom I would watch TV and I'd say, Mommy, I want to be a modeler, which was the people that I saw on TV. And she was like, I don't know. Like, my parents were very hesitant. I mean, my dad he was a superintendent of a gypsum plant in Long Beach Harbor. My mom was a stay-at-home mom.
Of a what plant?
A gypsum plant, drywall.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
I've never heard, I don't think I ever heard the word gypsum.
Yeah.
It's like a drywall union? It's like electrician, plumber, gypsum?
I don't know. I mean, maybe. I think it falls under like dock workers or something. I don't know. But my dad, had a very blue-collar job. He was a handyman all my life. My mom was a stay-at-home mom. Huh?
And you were in Los Angeles?
We were in like Lakewood was where we first lived, which is technically LA County, but pretty far south, kind of next to Long Beach. And so my mom put me in dance classes, and like, at my first recital, I was in the second row, and apparently I thought the girl in front of me was just fucking it all up, so I like kind of pushed her out, and I was like, I got this. And like, my mom was like, I mean, maybe she should perform. She really loves it.
Right.
And I did, and I came alive, and still to this day, I don't think I ever feel more at home than when I'm on set working, like having all of that going on. It just feels like totally comfortable to me. And I never stopped. You know what? In high school, I stopped wanting to audition as much, and my mom was like, all right, cool. Like, if this isn't what you want to do, I'm not going to drive you around everywhere and want it for you. And I took some time off. I went to performing arts high school, and that was it. So it was always my idea, though. And I didn't have a terrible experience, but I know so many people have, because, and I've seen it. I've seen parents that want it more than their kids.
Right. Mm-hmm. That's interesting to say. In high school, I didn't want to audition anymore. Where you think of child stars and the dynamic that's sort of like kind of dark, is that like maybe when they grow up a little bit, people don't find them cute anymore, and then they're sort of like maybe like 12 years old and feeling all washed up, kind of a thing.
I mean, it was definitely an adjustment. At 13 years old, I was finishing middle school, which is just shit for anyone. You know what I mean? Middle school just kind of sucks.
Right, okay.
I have two kids that are going in, my one is in 8th grade and one is going into 6th grade. And it's just the most awkward time of your life, right?
Yeah.
So I finished the show and I'm starting high school. So it was just, I mean, that time of your life when you're like, who the fuck am I? Like, what do I want? What am I doing? And I went to the Orange County High School for the Arts. So I was in musical theater.
Okay.
So I still had that performing outlet. And I did Party of Five. I did like a 6-episode guest starring thing on Party of Five when I was a little bit older. And
I thought you were going to say, I did party my ass off.
Well, I did. But that was like later in my, like high school and 20s when I really acted like an asshole.
Were you still going to grade school while you were filming? Mm-hmm. They didn't have, like, by law, you didn't have like a teacher on set?
I had both. Our producers, again, were really involved and engaged in how the kids on the show were doing. So I really wanted to go to regular school in the morning, and because we lived in Orange County and like traffic sucked getting up there at 8, we worked it out to where I think my first season I did my school on set just because we were kind of getting into the groove of it. But after that, like, I went to school in the morning. We worked 40 weeks, so Monday I was at school all day. Tuesday, Wednesday, I went to school until lunch and then got picked up. And Thursday and Friday, I did my work on set. So I had, like, a foot in normal life, and I just went to a public school in Orange County. Normal life. Like, I didn't live some crazy, yes, I got to do really cool shit growing up, but I also lived a very normal, grounded life. And I think that really helped me be a halfway normal fucking person. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like,
so if my math is right, you were 13 when you stopped doing Full House. You were 5 when it started, so it ran for 8 years?
It was 8 years. We did 8 seasons of that show, yeah. And 5 seasons of Fuller House for Netflix.
And so that means it's super syndicated. Like, did you get to renegotiate your contract after, like, so many years and get, like, back end and stuff?
You don't get back end stuff, but you still get, some residuals. But residuals, people think they're, you're making like hundreds of thousands of dollars. You're like, it's a nice little bonus of like, I can put a little bit of money aside, maybe, or pay my bills with it. Right. But it's not everything that everyone thinks it is, And now with Netflix and streaming, like, again, like I said, the business is so different. Like, residuals aren't a thing anymore.
Right.
You get paid out up front. They pay you far less than, they used to on network shows. and you get paid out, and that's it. Like, you'll get maybe DVD sales and stuff like that, but it's a very different business than it used to be. But yeah, I mean, look, Full House has been on the air ever since it started in 1986.
Right.
It's never been not on the air somewhere in the world. So
that's crazy. I'll sound like a creep for asking this, but do people always tell you you look like Scarlett Johansson?
You know what? That's actually something that I've gotten several times, and it's a huge compliment. Because I'm like, if anyone thinks I look remotely like her, I'll fucking take it. She's gorgeous.
On we saw the Black Widow or the movie Billboard after. I'm like, that looks like the Jodie that we're on our way to right now.
I have actually heard that before, and it's funny because people come up to me like, can I tell you, do you know who you look like? And I'm always like expecting, the girl from Full House, and they'll be like, Scarlett Johansson. I'm like, thank you.
Right.
Or the girl from Vikings. I've gotten that too.
Oh yeah, my girl loves the show Vikings, but I never got into it.
I haven't watched it, but I actually had somebody think I was her on a plane. And was like, I know who you are. And I was like, oh, okay. So we went along this whole thing. I thought one thing, and this person thought another. And then finally he was like, I just love Vikings. I have to. And I was like, oh, that's actually not me. We're having two very different conversations.
Are you familiar? So you've watched Vikings. You're into it.
I haven't watched it. I've watched like half of one episode. Not because I didn't like it. I just was, God only knows what other 9 million shows I was trying to finish at the time.
Right. Okay.
Yeah. But thank you. I'll take the compliment.
Yeah. I mean, it struck me. I was like, man, there's a real resemblance there.
I will play her sister any day in any movie. I'm just throwing that out there right now.
Sorry.
No, go ahead.
When you said you went to an art school, so like what I was curious about, you hear of like child stars getting like bullied in school.
Oh yeah, I did for sure.
Oh, you got bullied in school because you were successful with the show.
And yeah, middle school is really hard. I mean, elementary school people were rough, but it was like stupid shit. You know what I mean? Like whatever, making fun of your name or but that was like across the board. Everyone just made fun of each other. But I was with those kids for a while. Then you go to middle school, and it's like now you're dealing with kids from 5 or 6 different elementary schools that you haven't met before, and they're like, I would show up to school, and it was like, I knew people either wanted to be my friend because they were impressed by me, or just wanted to be around me to fuck with me. And I remember walking through the quad in like 7th grade, like the first week of school, and somebody just chucked an apple right to the side of my head from across the thing. And they'd write shit on my locker, or like intentionally try and trip me, or like, as you walk by, talk shit. And I just learned to be like, fuck you, It gave me a real thick skin, so it prepared me well for the internet, that's for sure.
Did you ever get in any fights? Are you a brawler or no?
Not till later. Not till later.
Really?
But yeah, I've had a few. I mean, that was definitely more when I was just like in my addiction and drinking and being an asshole.
Yeah.
I'm great for like the first 3 hours, and then after that, I'm like, I will fight anyone.
For sure.
Did you make it through all the 8 years of Full House without getting loaded, or did that start?
I did. No, I was still a kid.
Yeah.
And like, it really wasn't until high school, which is kind of when everybody starts, that's the time, 13, 14, 15, like you start doing dumb shit because everyone's doing dumb shit at that age. But I always say I would have had issues with addiction regardless of growing up on TV. I understand addiction in a very different way now, but I also, I was adopted at a very early age. My parents both had addiction issues, my biological parents. I was raised by 2 totally normal people, and that was what I found. I started partying in high school, and I was the one that it was like I started and I couldn't stop, and I went too far, and people were like, what is wrong with you? I was like,
I come from a long line. Like on my mom's side of the family, every single person, like without exception.
Yeah. On my biological side, it's, there was a lot of addiction, there was a lot of mental illness, but, actually finding out now as an adult, there was also a lot more success in some of my biological family than I knew about. But, it was, I definitely was born with, you know, a predilection to that. And then at 13, 14, you start going like, who am I? Where am I from? Who are my people? Who I know these are my parents, but I'm not from them. So like, how do I connect with that? And when the only thing you know is like your parents were addicts and had issues and in and out of jail, and my dad was killed in a prison riot, like, ooh. You know, when that's what you know, suddenly you feel like, oh, is that all that I am? Is that who I am? And it took me a long time to get over that resentment and that hurt and that all of that really led to a lot of my issues.
How old were you when you found out you were adopted?
Well, how old were you when you were adopted?
I was officially 14 months old, but it was right around like my first birthday, a little bit before. So it was about a year.
Was there a period in between getting adopted and not being with your biological parents where you were like shuffling through the system?
I didn't get put in the system, thankfully, but my mom was in jail when I was born. I've talked about.
You were born in jail?
I was born in jail.
Wow,
well, I was born technically,
what a legend, dude.
Technically at the USC County
sure.
on the the inmate floor, but
13th floor.
Yep, 13th floor. And
so there's like the keck, and then there's the
right.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So luckily my mom had and my biological dad had friends and cousins and family who actually are related to my adopted dad, and that's how I became adopted by my parents. Was he knew of me through his ex-wife's family and his kids from his first marriage, who were actually the ones that brought me home. And so I was staying with them, and my parents really wanted to have kids. My mom wasn't able to, and they knew that I needed a home. And so I was really fortunate in that I didn't wind up in the system because family and friends showed up for me and took me home.
Yeah.
But I was real close, and I always look at my life as this series of like incredibly fortunate events where I just happened to be in the right place at the right time, and like my life took a really different journey,
Huh. I think that's a great perspective, because I can imagine some people being like, man, I fucking got screwed. I was born in jail and then fucking...
Well, and here's the thing is like I had to get through, and I talked a lot about that in my book Unsweetened, and I talk about it a lot because I think, for one thing, I know that growing up as an adoptee, I think there's less of a stigma now, but when I was young, my mom was always like, we don't want to talk about this, because they were afraid that all of that coming out about me, that somehow people would look at me different. And now I'm like, I don't give a shit how people look at me. Like, you know what I mean? I am who I am, and I've survived, I've had some obstacles thrown at me, but I've also had some really wonderful experiences. So that's life, right? Like, you sometimes start off in a shitty place, and then it's not so bad.
When you got pregnant, were you thinking like, oh God, my kids are going to be alcoholics?
I mean, that was definitely that's always a fear, right? Like, are my kids going to be fucked up too? Am I fucking them? I mean, that's just a parental fear of like, is this the thing that's going to put them in therapy? Like, is this the conversation? Is this time that I snap and yell going to be the thing that like,
sticks with them?
But I also know, like, for me, I was raised by the most normal, non-drinking, like, so there for me in every respect. I still fucked up because I had my own shit to deal with. So like, trying to raise teenagers, especially now, man, my daughters are 13 and almost 11, and it's terrifying. But I also know, like, I have to, I've learned through my adventures in sobriety and all that, like, I have to learn to give them the dignity of their own experience too, and hope that I've put in place the right things, and also know that they're gonna fuck up, and it's not all about me. Like, I can't take all of my kids' bullshit and be like, oh, it's me, I did it, but it's scary.
I was at one of my get-togethers with sober friends.
Yes. Oh, yes.
And after our get together, this mother sort of called for like a little powwow. She, we're all sort of standing around.
Right.
Everyone's kind of going home except for us. We're talking, and she says, "I've got my I think she was talking about her son. If I remember, there's like the kid was like 8 years old or something." She says, "My son is showing such signs of being an alcoholic, but he's never even took a drink yet. He's never even, and like I don't know what to do because like I can't say like, oh, you gotta like, but she says part of me wants to like just hand him a beer and a joint and let him get to it so that he can bottom out.
Let's fucking, by the time you're 15, maybe you'll get your shit together instead of starting then and fucking it up for a while.
Right.
I mean, that's the thing, right? And my kids, I always like to say that, when I got sober too, one of the things that I learned was that practicing these principles in all my affairs also includes my parenting, right? So my kids are aware of the guiding principles of my life and all that stuff. And, at the end of the day, they're going to make their own choices. And I just have to hope that whatever they've heard and instilled and know will be relevant. Or I'll luck out and they'll be fucking normal and they'll read my book, which of course they now know about and their friends talk about and all that shit. And they'll be like, I don't want to be like her. That sounds terrible. Probably not, but what teenager ever says that? But
when I was working on my book, I found myself thinking, dude, I'm fucking gnarly.
At what part did you think that? At all
like
of it? Was there a one?
Towards the end.
Well, yeah.
Like I had this documentary about my downward spiral, and
I've seen it.
Yeah.
I don't know if you remember. We actually met several times.
Okay. I get so uncomfortable when people tell me that they met me before I got sober, because odds are that means they have an awful story to tell about me. But there's only a good story to tell about what's going to happen tonight when my girl Lux gets home, because I'm going to pop a blue chew tablet in my mouth and chew it up, and I'm going to show her my blue tongue, because when she sees it, she literally cheers. And she should, man, because blue chew tablets have the same active ingredient as both Viagra and Cialis, except they only cost a fraction of the price. And they're chewable. Plus, to get Blue Chew tablets, you don't have to have an awkward in-person visit to the doctor's office, because when you go to bluechew.com, you just consult with one of their medical providers right there on the website. Couldn't be more simple, couldn't be more quick. And if you use the promo code STEVO at bluechew.com, you know what? You're going to get an entire month's supply of Blue Chew tablets completely for free. All you have to pay is $5 for shipping. Come on. Could we get a better deal? I'm telling you. I have so much fun when I take my Blue Chew tablet and rock Lux's world. So, hey man, if you want to have extra fun with your extra impressive boner, then get on over to bluechew.com and use the promo code STEVO, because once again, that gets you an entire month's supply for free. All you got to pay is $5 for shipping. It's a really good time, so enjoy yourself. Now, let's get back to this.
When we were both in not a great place, the fact that I even remember it is shocking. You lived next door when you were in that building right off Sunset.
Sure.
You lived next door to my friend Jay.
Okay.
Jason. And he was also it was just not a good time for any of us, let's put it that way. And I seem to remember being out on the balcony, and somehow someone's shoes, maybe mine, got thrown over and like down in between the building, and then there was like I couldn't leave because I didn't have shoes. I mean, I could have left, but then we were like, I don't know. There was a lot going on in both that place and your apartment, so it was a wild ride. And I've run into you several times. So
wow.
Hi again.
Was that the?
I mean, you like it was like rolling dice, like to meet me back then. It could have been like a fun experience. It could have been an awful experience.
Same here. I'm
right.
sure. I still have a few friends that I like partied with back in the day who have I've stayed in contact with who, like, you know, are cool people that weren't assholes and made it through. And I always say, I'm like, was I as bad as I thought I was? And they were like, well, I mean, not always.
Right.
But, you know, I did have the nickname Kanye Mess. That was my...
That's great.
my friend Dutch gave me that nickname and when I used to spend a lot of time at the Roosevelt Hotel.
Okay.
And, yeah.
How much sobriety do you have now?
I stopped drinking, what is it now? 2011.
Okay.
So it's been a while. It's been a while. And, like, I was talking about this the other day. I was talking to somebody, and I was like, you know, I thought I'd be the girl to, like, die with a cocktail in my hand. Like, that was my plan.
Yeah.
Well, my plan was to be done by 30. I didn't think I'd see my 30th birthday.
Yeah, me either.
And that was the way I lived, you know? I was like, fuck it, none of this matters. Just go as hard as you can. And, like, the fact that I made it out of the situations that I often put myself in one piece is pretty remarkable. I count my blessings for sure. But yeah, I you know, I didn't think I'd see my 30th birthday. So, like, I'm 39 now, and I'm like,
wow,
this shit's extra, you know?
What was the rock bottom for you?
You know, I don't know that there was, like,
but the
one
last day where you just like, I gotta get help.
You know, it was interesting. I actually stopped drinking and using, like, a couple years before my sobriety. It was like 2009. But I had relapsed after I got in a car accident, and I was using muscle relaxers because I broke my arm and really fucked up my neck and all that. And I just started taking, like, 2-3 Selmas at a time, and it was a really short. Oh, Jesus Christ! I think I wound, and I'm pretty sure I've talked about this before, but, like, I wound up at Swingers, the diner Swingers,
sure,
like, trying to hold a fork, and I was just like, and my friend was there, like, what's wrong? You know, and she's sober, and she was like, dude, and it had been, I don't know, maybe a month, not even, like, it was a very short time from, like, I was using them and then using them inappropriately,
sure,
and then it was like, I just can't do this anymore.
Those things killed people.
They
left
do.
And right,
I remember my doctor.
If you drank on Soma, like, you might just not wake
If you
up.
drank on Somas, also if you detox suddenly off of them, they can cause really gnarly seizures and all that. I mean, I worked in treatment for a while before coming back to Fuller House. I worked in treatment for like 5 or 6 years.
Wow.
And yeah, I remember, you know, that was the thing that I learned. I was like, oh, glad I didn't die. Let's,
right.
You know.
Yeah, wow.
And you don't hear about Somas anymore. It's like they kind of went away.
They went away. I mean, and I think it's like so not something in my. I'm sure if I, you know, asked, I'm sure I could find them, but, like, it's so not even in my realm of that anymore.
Working in recovery, did you ever hear that, like, statistically, the jobs that people have the highest rate of relapse are jobs where they work in recovery?
Yeah, it's one of the most stressful things I've ever done. You know, I worked. I started as a tech and then worked my way up and was a director of operations for a while. And so I oversaw, you know, a staff of like 120 people and a bunch of different houses, and, like, you know, oftentimes you're hiring people that have been there for a year and then they're moving out and they want to, you know. So I think that's part of it too, is a lot of people, even if they have a, you know, the year requirement, it's hard. And it's a hard environment to work in. There's a huge burnout rate. My boyfriend now is a social worker and has his master's, and, you know, works as a case manager and social worker and therapist and all that. And it's hard. My best friend's a therapist. She takes on people's shit all day long. Right. And it's hard, you know? It's a lot. But I did love it. I was very fortunate in that I went into the world of recovery and kind of threw myself in. I mean, I was making $10 an hour as a tech for a while and emptying trash cans, and I was like, okay, this is just what it is, and I was fine with that. But it's, you know, it's a lot to take on because you care about these people, and getting sober is not easy, and it's not pretty. Right.
It also, I think, feels pretty slippery to put your recovery out there, like, publicly. Like, I know I did that in a big way.
Right.
And at a certain point, like, I really kind of tried to back off of that a little bit.
Yeah, I do too. Like, I don't talk about it as often anymore. Like, it's just something that I'm like, it's not all that I am. And I know people are, like, always fascinated by, like, like what was the worst point? I'm like, I don't know. It was all, I had fun. And then there were moments that I, like, wound up in the hospital, with acute alcohol poisoning or something. Or I wound up, like, passed out on a sidewalk for hours and my friends couldn't get me up. Or, like, there was a lot of shitty times, but there was fun times too, but then it just became more shitty times than good times, and then it was like, now we're...
Did you have fun? The last 4 years of me using, like, I didn't have fun once.
Dude, I was positive that I was having a blast.
Right.
Right.
But were you
Look at it
really?
now, like, the stress, my God, it was constant, just constantly fucking up everything.
I thought I was so cool. I thought that, like, I was having the greatest time, and, like, every once in a while, like, that wasn't the case. But, like, actually, all the time, I was awful.
Also, when I had kids, that really changed it for me. Like, after I had Zoe, my older daughter, I was trying to get sober again. I had quit drinking when I was pregnant, and then it was like she was born, and I was like, I went from fucking partying to being a mom, and I didn't know what the fuck I was doing. It was terrifying, and I started drinking again, and then it was like, I've got to get sober. But I will say that was the point in my life that I really dealt with the huge resentment of being adopted and of my mom not being able to get her shit together enough. Like, my biological mom.
Wow.
I think I always held on to that resentment. Like, was it me? Why wasn't I good enough? Why wasn't I... So, why couldn't I change you? And I think when I got to the point after I had my daughter and I was struggling to get sober and quit drinking, and all of a sudden I realized, I was like, oh shit, this has nothing to do with her. This is my sickness and my addiction issue that I have to deal with. And suddenly it was like I understood who that my biological mother was, and that she actually did the best thing she could for me, and that how sad that she couldn't get it. You know what I mean? And it gave me a different perspective on it. Having gone through it myself, I suddenly saw her in a whole new way, and this huge amount of forgiveness came about, and that was when I quit drinking. That was it. Like, I hadn't had a drink since then. And again, like I said, I relapsed on the other stuff, but I hadn't had a drink since then, and it was, that was what I needed. That was a resentment that I didn't know how to heal until I was in it.
Wow. As I understand it, adopted kids, it's almost like a rite of passage to try to, like, track down your biological parents. Did you ever do that?
Is. I did. It
was easy because
one has passed away, and well, they're both dead now. I never got to meet them, but I did finally get some pictures, and that was, I think, all I really wanted. I remember, so fucking cheesy, but I remember the movie Antoine Fisher with Denzel Washington.
Okay.
And I remember seeing that movie, and it's about, like, the guy never meets his biological mom's a fucking crackhead and is a mess and all this stuff. And there was this one scene in it where he meets her, and he's so disappointed because she's still getting loaded and her life's still fucked up, and he's, like, gone off and gotten his shit together, and he's, like, this whole thing where he's like, I kept thinking maybe you'd come around the corner and, like, have ice cream for me, or, like, be there, or that... he's like, I saw you like this golden angel, and it hit me because I was like, oh fuck, I have this really idealized version of what this person was, and in doing that, I've, like, taken away her humanity a little bit because I had this expectation. And so, like, being able to kind of connect and understand her in a little bit different way once I was a mom really changed things for me.
That's heavy.
It is.
That's
It
deep
is.
and heavy.
It's deep and heavy,
fuck.
and I mean, fuck it. This
Yeah.
is, you know, it's funny. Like, I'm at that point now in my life where I'm like, if we're not talking about this shit, what's the point? Like,
Right.
I suffer from terrible anxiety still, PTSD, depression, you know, the whole fun gamut of like
Do you
mental
have
illness
any,
bullshit.
this is such an inappropriate question, but I'll just go for it. Do you take any fun, like, antidepressant meds?
Of course, thank God. You know,
Not that they're fun, but
not that they're
like,
fun, but they're necessary.
yeah,
you know?
oh my God, for me, like, and I'm no doctor and I would never recommend anything, but personally, for
Yeah.
me, Zoloft is so absolutely crucial to me.
It's true, and I think, you know, it's interesting too. There are some meds that I use, that have saved my life.
Yeah.
You know, I am not like suicidally depressed. You know,
100%. That's exactly it.
And I look at it as like, look, my brain just works a little differently. And
Right.
it's not always the best. I'm trying, you know, I go to therapy, I do all the things that I know I'm supposed to do, but my brain just works a little differently.
Right.
And so I know I've seen people in the program really shame people for
Psych meds.
for psych meds and things like that. And I'm like, dude, outside help, motherfuckers. Outside help,
Yeah.
outside
Yeah.
issue, not
For
your
sure.
not your, you know.
Plus, in the history of Zoloft, I don't think anybody has ever taken it like for fun.
Right.
You know,
but I know
like-
people are, you know, they're, and I think often as any humans, group of humans get together and all of a sudden everybody gets a little judgy.
Right,
You
for
know?
sure. But like the difference is, if I'm not taking Zoloft, then it takes a very minor disturbance for me, from my head to just go straight to some crazy suicidal ideation.
Right. Oh yeah.
And
yeah.
I'll-
You're like, that's it. Everything's done. Just let me just
Yeah,
check out.
for sure. And I don't think that I ever got anywhere near actually like being proactive about suicide. I
No.
just simply wasted untold hours of time
Right.
wallowing in this
Just fucking kill
perverse,
myself. Just
dark,
fucking- right.
planning out what it would, you know, how I would do it. And the sad reality is that I was always in my fantasies far too concerned with what would happen after I died to have ever been serious about dying.
Well, because you're like, but wait, I want to be there though. I want to see whatever.
Right. I mean,
What's
my
everyone
plans
gonna
were
say?
always like, oh, like how will I make sure that my body's not found? You know, like, and I had
Right.
such crazy ways for that. I was gonna.
Oh boy, here we go.
Are you ready?
Why wouldn't you want your body found?
Because I wanted to just fucking disappear and then
But that's
be like
the difference,
Elvis.
right?
Like,
It's-
is he alive or what?
But that's really what you wanted, right? You didn't necessarily want to die. You just wanted to disappear. I just
It's
don't
not that.
want to
Well,
do
I mean,
this
yeah,
shit.
that would make me like somehow like last forever. You know, if people didn't know.
Right,
Like,
it's
fucking,
right.
You know?
You're going to be a constant
Wow.
mystery
People
that people
say-
are going to be trying to solve, right? And
Right.
the arrogance of that, right?
100%.
That anyone's going to probably give a fuck anyway. you know
For
what I
sure.
mean?
For sure. So my plan was
Oh my
my
God.
favorite of the plans.
But your favorite,
Just like-
right? The one that you would read
There's
off.
more
right.
practical ones, but my favorite of the plans was to rent a cube truck. Okay, like
a box
like
truck,
a box
right,
truck,
yeah.
like a U-Haul box truck.
Right.
Okay. Now, I would have like a super old school car in the back of the box truck.
Okay.
Okay.
Right.
So it's all sealed up,
Right,
like in
that's
there.
just
So it's
super
just like
that you can just
super
turn
carbon
on
monoxide
and, like,
right,
right.
right. Now the box truck would be like parked near a body of water.
Okay.
Right, actually, but not parked. It would actually be in drive mode,
Okay.
except it would have a huge block of ice on the brake. So I get
Holy shit, man! You really fucking went for it.
So I go in the back in the car and I get
And
going
just-
with that. Plus, on top of that, I got a hose coming out of the exhaust pipe of the cube truck running in. So I'm double
Just
timing.
right, because
Yeah, I got the-
even in your death you'll be alcoholic about it.
right,
Because even as I'm dying, I want fucking
Right.
more. Right? Yeah.
100%. Yeah. So I got all the carbon monoxide coming from the cube truck, as well as coming from the car in the cube truck, all just hosed right into the
Right.
car with the windows
Right.
fucking rolled
P.S.
up.
None of this is a recommendation of how to do it because
Carbon monoxide is terribly unsuccessful so much of the time, and it leaves you a fucking in
with
an
a
awful.
vegetable, right?
Yeah.
And then, look, none of it's good because it's always the you know.
But it's really dope that for the ice to melt, and then the truck then
truck just
drives itself
drives
into the body
into
of water,
the fucking-
and is never found because it's just under this random body of water in the middle of nowhere.
That's a plan and a half, my
Pretty
friend.
fucking cool.
Thank God for Zoloft. dude.
Right. and this has been an advertisement for Zoloft.
Yeah,
Right.
wow.
And it's crazy too because there was one point where I was in a relationship with someone who really looked down on the idea of psych meds, and I actually got off of them. And in black and white, I could notice the difference, man.
Right.
And then I got back on them, and like everything was okay again.
Yeah. No, I think I've gotten to the place in my life where I'm like, you know what? Whatever I have to do to like save my mental health,
For sure.
I'm gonna do it, and I'm willing to do it. And like, I'm good. You know, this is my path. This is my journey. This is my
sure.
life. And like, I think I've just gotten to a place now, you know, past all of that stuff, where I'm like, I'm good. I have fucking anxiety. I mean, today
Right.
I was a mess. Just like I couldn't. Executive functioning was out the window today, and I don't know why. It was just one of those days where my brain was like eating itself alive. But I know it'll pass. I know it'll get better, and I have a great partner who's like so supportive of me, and he's like, just come sit down. It's okay. You know, you're good. But my life is so good today, and I also know like I've survived the shit. You know what I mean? Yeah, it's miserable. There are some days where you're like, I can't fucking do this. I can't do this. But you do it, and you get through it, and then eventually you look back and you go, oh, shit, I did it. you know?
Mm-hmm.
And I was so fortunate getting to come back like and do Fuller House. I got to direct an episode.
Wow, super cool.
Which is something that I want to focus on. Like I'm, having more meetings with different networks and stuff about getting back into directing. That's really where I want to focus my energy is like directing, producing. I've got a couple
Cool.
scripts that I'm working on with people, and
You're playing the lead in something coming up. Are you,
you got
not?
a lead role in a movie.
I did actually we shot it during quarantine in November.
Yeah.
And it's called "Will You Be My Quarantine?"
I like
It's a
it.
cute little rom-com about like a relationship that develops during quarantine over Zoom, and then they luckily there's a vaccine. I mean, we shot this in November when there wasn't a vaccine, and I remember thinking like, God, I really hope that there
It
is
works
one.
out.
Otherwise, this is
Right.
gonna be people are gonna be like, oh fuck, look at them, they're happy now they got a vaccine. We're still sitting inside,
Oh, wow.
But yeah, that'll be coming out. I think sometime. I think we're gonna try to release it around Valentine's Day
Cool.
next year.
Sounds
I
like a
did-
modern day You've Got Mail.
Exactly. Very similar. Very similar.
Yeah.
And I'm, working on writing a script with a friend, or actually she's writing it, but I'm working on trying to, pitch that and do stuff. So I'm trying to remember that like this business is it's up and down,
Right.
Yeah.
It's all over the place, and that's okay.
It's gnarly.
Yeah.
It's gnarly. In between Full House and Fuller House, did you have like showbiz stuff going on?
Yeah. Oh yeah. I did, like I said, I did,
Party of Five.
Party 5. I did Brotherly Love when I first finished Full House. I was like 13, 14. I did
That
a
was
couple
the Lawrence
episodes of that.
brothers. Uh-huh.
And I did a few other things, but then like I got married really young the first time.
How old?
It's been a few. I was 20 when I first got
Okay.
married. And ironically enough, my husband was a cop at the time, which I know people now are like, you were married to a cop? I'm like, yeah, I know. And then, I started getting sober and being not sober and fucking everything up. And, it's definitely been an up and down. And there was a time that I kind of walked away from the business because I was like, I don't know if it's what I want to do anymore. And so I moved into working in treatment, and I loved that. I wanted to be a case manager. I wanted to be a therapist. And then Fuller House came about, and we were pitching that. And then that happened, and my life completely pivoted again. And I got back to doing the thing that, like I said, I feel most at home doing.
Yeah.
And still trying to, build on that and direct and do other stuff. And I've got my podcast, Never Thought I'd Say This.
Oh, cool.
That I do. We just started season 4 again. We just launched a YouTube channel.
Nice.
And it's me and my best friend Celia Behar, who our girls are about the same age, and we just talk about all of our parenting fuck ups and fails and like how we don't know what the hell we're doing and just the weird shit. It's a very raw, inappropriate look at parenting. Like my mom says, you'll love the show if you don't mind the F word.
Nice.
But I'm just trying to stay busy and doing that stuff. But
how long have you been doing the podcast?
We just celebrated our 2-year anniversary, but we've done 4 seasons, so we've done like 2 seasons a year.
Okay.
And where can they find it?
They can find it anywhere on Apple, on iTunes, Spotify, Stitcher,
Everywhere.
Anywhere you can get your podcasts, you can download it and subscribe to Never Thought I'd Say This, and on our YouTube.
Oh, that's the name of it.
That's the name of it. Never thought I'd say
Never
this.
thought I'd say this.
Yeah.
Wow.
Because we started out like neither one of us. We were like, I never thought I'd be a parent. And all and not only that, but like all the shit you're like, I never thought I'd have to ask someone like, please don't lick the toilet. Like I just, things that you have to say to kids as you're parenting, where you're like, I never ever thought this string of words would be put together and I'd have to direct it at another human being.
That's
because
funny.
what the fuck is happening right now?
That's funny.
That's epic.
Yeah.
I know that Netflix is like notoriously like kind of like not open about their numbers. Sometimes they choose to say, oh, well, this many households, whatever. Like everybody.
And it's never like necessarily an accurate number. You never really know. But like independent, I don't even know what like companies have or people have looked into it and tried to figure out kind of what their numbers are. And I do remember that I believe Fuller House, the season it premiered, was like one of their top watched shows that entire year.
Cool.
So yeah,
I guess now
we
they
did
have
well,
like 1
but
through 10. You always know what the top.
they're
Was it top
10,
trending?
but like they
Right.
never. But that could be anything, and
Right.
and I think the top 10. It's also like what your algorithm set. My type of
the
top,
top
10.
It's different for everybody.
Top 10
I
for
think
my,
I don't know, but I do notice like sometimes my top 10. I'm like, oh, I don't have that in
When-
my kids.
If
When-
it's not fucking true crime, like really creepy,
That's
disturbing.
me too. I'm like, I'm all about the fucking serial
Straight
killers.
murder.
I'm
Yeah,
actually
wow.
doing one of those like hunt a killer things. Like
Oh,
my
yeah?
boyfriend got it for me for Valentine's Day, like a 6-month subscription to one of those things where you like, hunt the killer or whatever. It's a fake one, but I love that shit.
Wow.
Love it.
Hey, how many eyeballs were on Full House at its peak?
Oh God, I know
I'm
we
gonna
made
guess-
it to
I'm
number
gonna-
1 a few times, but we were in the top 10 a
It was
lot.
network,
Is that like 10
right?
million?
It was ABC.
ABC.
And we were like the TGIF kind
Channel.
of.
And it was
Yeah.
and it was prime time.
Right before
Friday
Family
nights.
Matters.
Friday nights.
Yeah, we did.
I'm guessing like, did you break 20 million?
Something like that, yeah, a lot. I mean, and we would fluctuate, but we were often in the top 10. Occasionally, I think we made it to number 1, depending on the episode. So it was a huge ABC show, and
Dude, it's
Right.
huge.
Yeah.
And it's huge on Netflix, so like, so there's no way of really
I wonder what has
calculating
more.
when it was
right.
more popular. But
Yeah,
it makes
I don't
sense
know.
that it would be more popular now because you've got multiple generations.
Well,
of-
we've got multiple generations, and it's all over the world. Like, we shot an episode in Japan for Fuller House. We went over there for a few weeks. It was insane. Like, we arrived at the airport, and there were like 300 people there waiting for us. We would get followed everywhere.
Wow.
We had people camping out in our hotel. Like, Full House and Fuller House are huge in Japan. Also, I'm huge in Brazil. I have a ridiculous amount of following in Brazil. So if anyone out there from Brazil is listening, what's
Epic.
up? Germany.
Where's the craziest place that like you've had fans reach out to you or?
Oh my God. I mean, all over. Like I've had fan mail literally from all over the world. I know Fuller House is in like 56 countries.
Wow. I remember one of the Seinfeld guys was like, dude, I was in Indonesia and I walked into this house and they were all huddled around this TV watching Seinfeld.
Yeah.
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 Here,
What do you need?
I'm just gonna put this down so we can get a good thumbnail.
Oh, yeah. There we go.
Right on.
Right.
Yeah, that's crazy, man.
Yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
I think for you, the craziest place that when I've been with you would be Madagascar.
Madagascar. Yeah, I remember we were shooting Wild Boys, and we were on what was the Borneo, the little islands in Indonesia, and we were filming with some like indigenous tribe, and they were filming being part of their ceremony.
I remember seeing Wild Boys, yeah.
and this indigenous tribe guy like points to my tattoo that I got in the Hummer,
right?
And he points, he goes, "Off-road tattoo."
Oh, really? Off-road
yeah, it was
tattoo?
crazy. I couldn't understand what he was. I was like, "What? Off-road tattoo?" He said, "Off-road tattoo." Yeah.
I mean, it's crazy, and I always think about too, you know, the impact that I've been able to have, and now with social media, even more. Like, it's still out there, and you know, I'm super politically active now, and like very much involved in a lot of that. I just joined the board of a super PAC here in LA or in California that is really pushing young progressive candidates and trying to get them elected. And, you know, I was really involved in all the protests. I was out at actions constantly. I, you know, support a lot of, you know, the Dude Didn't Decline, like all of that, protest art, kind of stuff like that. Like, that's my wheelhouse now. So I know I definitely, you know, piss a lot of people off, but but it's also something I'm super passionate about, so.
Does, Who's the Boss was before Full House, huh?
Right around the same time. Yeah, Alyssa, Alyssa's on there.
Are you friends with Alyssa?
I am.
Because when you say, you know, like your wheelhouse is political now, I feel like she's pretty political.
She's super political, yes. I am friends with her.
Are your political sort of, like what it was, ideologies aligned?
We're similar. I'm definitely much farther left than most people. So, yeah.
Good.
You know, I'm one of those crazy leftist Hollywood liberal fuckers.
All right.
Is there?
I mean, the back of my shirt has like, you know, all kinds of stuff on it from you know, from change.org. So
if it's left to promote respect, then call me left.
Yeah, yeah. It's all about just trying to really broaden our horizons and make people aware of what the world is, what's actually going on in the world.
Okay. Since you brought up politics, can I ask you, would you have voted for Bernie Sanders?
Absolutely.
Fuck yeah, me too.
Absolutely. I would have voted for Bernie. I also liked some of Elizabeth Warren's platforms, but I don't think, you know, and I really... I wish we could get more progressive candidates in, which is, you know, a lot of the candidates that I am now working with and promoting with this Super Bloom PAC are people that are endorsed by Bernie and that are very, you know, really trying to push environmental issues and social justice issues and all that shit. Cause
oh my God, my girl said something so fucking funny the other night. I was like trying to say, like, I was trying to like make a joke or something, because with all the heat records, I was I was like, babe, global warming is such a hoax, right? I was joking, and she says, "Of course it's a hoax. The world is flat."
Did you watch that documentary, Flat Earthers?
No.
Oh my God, there's a fucking no, dude. If you want to lose your mind,
I can't even go down that rabbit hole.
No, but you have to, because it's so like, it's. I watched it like this the whole time, just like.
I think I did see something.
It's on.
Space is fake. The Earth is flat.
Space is fake. The Earth is flat. And here, the best part is though, is these fucking people. Oh my God. So they're doing experiments, right? To say that the world
I did
is
see
flat.
that with the lasers.
The lasers,
yeah,
right?
Yeah, I saw
and
that.
And they don't, and it disproves their theory. And they're like, well, we need to adjust this so that it proves our theory. And you're like, that's not how science works.
there's so many like things that just are problematic for flat earthers. Like, say for example, if you're gonna fly to London, England, you're gonna fly east, right? Across America and then across the Atlantic.
But
however, if you're gonna fly
up north, when you fly that way, you usually fly up and over.
True.
But
you would head that direction.
Right.
Conversely, if you're going to fly to Australia, then you go the other way.
Right.
Because it's shorter, because that would suggest roundness.
Well,
But
also
no, but it's a big bubble. It's a big bubble, Steve. We're living in a dome. It's a dome. But my question is, where's the fucking sun go? How is it that every other planet is round except for us? What are you talking about? That's not how gravity works.
Well, also in like Dubai, they have the world's tallest building there, where they have a different. The sunset is later because it's so high up.
Right.
That the sun sets
But
later.
but they're like, it's just because it's a big dome.
optics.
I know,
Like,
they're out there.
bro.
They're totally out there. I posted at one point because like everyone was talking about flat Earth, and back on Wild Boys, I went in a Russian MiG fighter jet, like faster than the speed of sound, to the edge of the Earth's atmosphere. And I like to call myself a fucking cosmonaut for that, which is the Russian term for astronaut.
Right.
Of course, Chris Pontius made the point, if you go to the edge of a woman's pussy, that doesn't make you not a virgin.
And he's not wrong, technically. You know what I mean?
Right. But the thing was, though, I went up and
Right?
I went up.
Well, what the fuck did Chris do? What plane is he
Right.
fucking in?
Yeah, how'd
know
you
what I'm
get to
saying?
go on that and Chris didn't?
Because there's only room for one person.
And
And
because
I don't know. I wanted
Chris
to
only
do it
went to
more.
the edge.
Maybe.
What an honor.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
No.
Right. Chris,
He's already been to a woman's vagina.
Right. But the thing was, I went up at like noon, and it was fully like not a cloud in the sky, totally blue, you
Right.
know, like sunny at noon, and going up, even though it was only to the edge of the Earth's atmosphere and not, you know,
Right.
beyond it. It was like fully, by the time we got up like to whatever, however high, it wasn't sunny anymore. It was like straight fucking dark, and
Oh
I was
my
looking at
God.
the Earth, and it was curved.
That's
and I
so
took this picture.
wild. That's so
That's
wild.
crazy.
Dude,
Yeah.
that's amazing.
I
I don't have the balls to do that, but like that shit is amazing.
I took a picture of the fucking, like, it was dark,
Right.
and it was looked like fucking space to
Looks
me.
like- right.
And I posted that for the flat earthers. I was like, dude, I took this picture, and they're like, yeah, fucking fisheye lens fucking makes everything curved.
That's so crazy, dude.
Right, you're like, what? Like, it just, like I said, I watched the whole documentary, like, oh my God.
I remember I did watch it when you
Yeah.
did
Sometimes you just have to watch the shit about the edge of
Right.
of reason, because I'm like, I need to know what's going on the other side. And you're just like, wow, so like this is what happens when you defund education for like
Oh my
2
God.
generations, you know?
Right.
You get people who don't think that the earth is round.
It's something else. So Full House is still going. Fuller House is still going.
Yeah,
Is that right?
no, it's not. We
Okay, it's
finished
not.
in 2019. We did
Okay.
5 seasons, and we were really fortunate. We ended in November of 2019, right before the pandemic, so we got to have a big celebration and, you know, everybody on set, and it wasn't like a fucking weird thing.
Right.
So.
And you've got the Will You Be My Quarantine coming out.
That's going to be coming out next year, and then
I can't
Is
believe
that
I'm
like a
saying
full
this.
length, like 9?
I never thought I'd say this podcast, which is season 4 just came out last week.
I
2
think
weeks
you're in the
ago.
minority of podcasts for having seasons. I think that threw us off because we're like, season.
Well,
huh?
we do it that way for like
How many episodes per season?
24.
24.
Shit.
Okay.
Yeah. We usually do it that way because then we're like, oh my God, I need to take a rest and like figure out who the hell we're going to have on next season.
We're
and, like,
psycho.
you know. Huh?
We're psycho. We don't rest.
I mean, what? Right.
I haven't had a day off in like 20 years,
He
probably.
doesn't want one. He doesn't want. We like.
I get it. I've had too many days off in the last year, and I'm like fucking going out of my mind.
We hate weekends. We hate holidays. We hate anything that stops productivity. Yeah. What about your social media handles?
Social
dude?
media, you can find me at Jodie Sweetin on Instagram and Twitter, at official Jodie Sweetin on Facebook, and I'm going to start a TikTok because I made a bet that once my best friend Celia got to 10,000 followers on Instagram that I'd start a TikTok because I'm like, I'm too old for this shit.
Right. I just posted a TikTok before we started recording, and I bet it's already been taken down by TikTok for violating community guidelines. They're the most sensitive platform.
Well, TikTok's super sensitive. Instagram really didn't like me for a while. Like during 2020, I definitely, because I was so active in a lot of protests, I got shadow banned a lot.
Really?
I got my live turned off if I was at certain actions. Like, I couldn't post live. I couldn't,
crazy.
You would think
wild.
that Instagram would be like pretty aligned with
Not
liberal.
like I said, I'm pretty far
Oh,
off.
so
to the,
you're
yeah.
like straight Antifa.
I was joking with my dad. I'm like, I'm the president of Antifa. I have to go to a meeting. Dad.
I
He's
didn't even know if
I'm like, shut up. It's
I
not.
said that like as a joke, like not knowing if I got it right. Is Antifa far left?
Yeah.
Oh,
Well, it's
okay.
Antifa's not far. Antifa is just anti-fascist, and I think we fought a big war about that. I'm
That
pretty
sounds
sure
pretty-
America's
pretty-
pretty anti-fascist.
pretty cool. I'm dying to know how many like comments this podcast gets where it's like unsubscribe.
Oh,
You
sometimes.
know, like
I got into a huge thing on In Decline's post the other day about with like pro-lifers and pro-choice. Like, it was.
I'm not pro-life or pro-choice. I'm pro-abortion.
There you go. Well, they hung.
Because I think some people
should not
not
have
be allowed to
kids.
have kids.
Okay, so here's the thing. I don't know if you follow In Decline. They're a big street art, graffiti art, protest art collective.
Okay.
And I'm friends with them. And they went to the Christ of the Ozarks.
I don't know what that means.
Which
Is
is
that in Missouri?
the Christ of the Ozarks is a smaller replica of that big giant Jesus in Rio.
Okay, gotcha.
And they have one there, and it's like a Jesus theme park.
Ozarks
basically,
being
in
like
the Ozarks.
Missouri.
Yeah.
Okay.
And they went in and they hung a giant sign off the Christ of the Ozarks that says "God bless abortions." And so I was like, "Thank you for doing this. This is, with all the restrictions."
You have to get a license to catch a fish.
Right? Yeah. You have to
But
get a license to drive a fucking car.
Right.
But
Any asshole can have a kid.
any asshole can have a kid.
Wouldn't it be kind of cool if you had to get a license to become a
or
parent?
just a class or two,
Right,
maybe.
right, to get a license, right? Wouldn't it be kind of cool if to become a parent you had to like take a class in developmental psychology so you could understand what the implications of certain things that happen,
Absolutely.
like how malleable, how impressionable, like how important a human's first experiences are.
Or
Absolutely.
just babysit an infant for the weekend, and you're like,
that-
fuck
that's
this.
It too. Well, and
I mean-
it's funny. My 13-year-old daughter made the point. She was like, so if you're 15, like, you can't adopt a baby because you're not fiscally responsible enough, and you're not mature enough.
Who's to say
She
you're not
was like,
fiscally
but you can
responsible enough?
have a baby at 15 and no one's gonna stop you. She's like, so why wouldn't you want the option? It was just it's
Right.
an interesting point. But like I said, I definitely get into it with people on the internet because I really in 2020, like, all of my fucks went out the window. There was very few hanging on, and then the rest of them were just like, you know what, peace out, you're gonna go crazy. And I was like, yep, I'm ready.
I love that so much. So
I just don't. At this point, I'm like, I don't have time to just not be fully who I am. Like, I'm 39 years old. I'm over the bullshit. The world is on fire. Like,
Right.
literally. Who cares? Just
I know.
you got to stand for something, and I am very passionate about the things I believe in, and I feel like I have a platform and a perspective that hopefully will reach people that maybe aren't aware of some of the things. You know what I mean?
Right.
And or people just fucking hate me. That's cool too. Like, I lose followers all the time. I gain followers all the time. I'm like,
right.
I am who I am.
Yeah, I generally try to like steer clear of politics and stuff, just because like I don't really care to alienate people, and it's just like
Right.
too much. It's too much of a
Yeah, and I mean, I definitely, before
I applaud you. I applaud
you.
you for your bravery to be in that forum. But I think
lot.
I can safely say nobody cares about Steve-O's political opinion.
Right, and it's not even.
Yeah.
I know that, like, Jodie Sweetin's political opinion isn't the thing. It's more like, I know that I reach an audience probably of a lot of middle America,
Right.
white people that maybe aren't aware of some of these things, or aren't exposed to the diversity of communities that we have here in LA and that I've grown up with. And I just feel like trying to be an ally and trying to talk about that stuff, and I definitely consider it before I started doing it. Like, that
Right.
first post, when I posted about it was about actually sexual assault, and I posted about it, and I knew it was going to be really polarizing because it was Christine Blasey Ford's testimony or whatever, and I posted about my own experience with it. And I was like, well, here we go. And, you know, there was one little fuck went flying away. And then, you know, and then like 2020 happened and I was like, oh, let's go. Like, and I, you know, I went for it. So I always say, you know, I don't want to alienate anyone. I'm trying to educate people. But also, if you come to my Instagram page and you start talking shit to me, I'm going to go at you. Because it's like you came to my door, knocked on it, and then started yelling at me, so then you get mad when I punch you in the face after I've told you to leave and you don't? Like, that's just what it is.
So you'll engage with it, huh? Like negativity?
I will. It's not even that I engage with it, but it's like if people come on, I mean, you know, I've gotten death threats, I've gotten all kinds of wild shit. If people come on my page and want to insult me directly, I'm like, I'll have some words for you. And I have some things to say. Because like I say, I go, you showed up here and came here to engage in this conversation. I didn't follow you. I don't go on other pages.
Understood.
You know what I mean?
But by having words for them, you're giving attention to them, and like kind of word. Like in my view, it's just if it's negative, fucking delete, block.
I do that with a lot of stuff. It depends on what it is. It depends on if people are like, you know, you know, I've had some people on there who I will engage it with that are completely opposite of me, and I can engage in calm debate all day long. Like, I'll have a conversation with you, but if you want to come on my page and say some shit, like, I'm going to say something back, and then I'm going to be like, and now I'm done with you. You know?
All right, well, I'm going to tell everybody to go to your page and say nice stuff.
Say nice stuff.
Yeah.
And that's the thing, like, I post about fun stuff a lot of the time, too, but I post about my life and what I'm really passionate about. I hate the narcissism of Instagram and social media. It's why I don't like having a lot of platforms, because I'm like, what the fuck why do I want to see my face more? You know what I mean? Like, it's like, it feels so narcissistic, and it's so not me that like, at least when I feel like I am trying to take action or trying to promote something that I believe in, it feels a little less about me. I just don't like making things about me.
I've always been about making everything about me.
As evidenced by your suicide plan.
Yeah. I'm a card-carrying fucking attention whore all the way through.
You're kidding. I've never watched seasons of Jackass, Wild Boys. You're kidding. No.
Wow, we went well over an hour. The air conditioning's still going. Oh, all good.
Okay.
All good. It's been a treat. And anything else we can direct people to?
Not right now, but I'm sure, you know, follow me at Jodie Sweetin on Instagram, Twitter, all that. I'm always talking about new projects. I post a lot of stuff for the podcast at Never Thought I'd Say This. You can also follow it there. But yeah, I'm, you know, hoping for directing projects. I'm really that's my goal for this year. I like try and set a goal each year.
Let's get you a gig as Scarlett Johansson's sister.
Let's do that. Steve-O, make it fucking happen.
Yeah, I love it.
That's what we'll do. Is everyone go and somehow like just start posting about that.
I mean, I see it.
I see it too.
It works for me. Awesome. Hey, thank you so much.
You're so welcome. Thank you for having me on. It's
been
a pleasure to see you guys. Yeah.
What can I say, man? That was a good time. Maybe not as good of a time as Lux and I are about to have, considering she just got home and it's Blue Chew tablet time. But still, the Jodie Sweetin episode was a lot of fun. And thank you for sticking around to the very end, because as I always say, it's you guys who stick around to the very end who mean the most to me. And hopefully I'm going to see you guys on my bucket list tour, man, because COVID allowing, I'm fucking going everywhere. Yeah. Okay, baby.